you very much, Jim, for the welcome, and certainly in terms of the child payment, I think that kind of underlines the collective responsibility across Cabinet that we take and want to ensure that we deliver across the whole of government to ensure that we can deliver on that child payment, and we're really pleased that it has been welcomed so warmly. But in terms of today, I'm really pleased to be able to join you, which is the first national conference on local action to tackle child poverty, and it's great to see representation from right across Scotland, 28 local authorities, because your presence here represents the strength of determination and the importance attached to collective action to tackle child poverty. And today is also a chance, as Jim and others have said, to share ideas, to share innovative practice, and to learn what goes well, where the gaps are, and the action that we still need to take. And it is collective action that is required. Unfortunately, there is no one neat policy or one department or one portfolio that ultimately has the magic bullet that can tackle poverty. But instead, what is needed is a range of actions driven nationally and locally to support and care for families and lift them out of poverty. So today I want to reflect on what has been achieved nationally in year one and set out the next steps that we in the Scottish Government will be taking. Importantly, though, I want to also focus on the approach for local child poverty action reports and how these will assist us to deliver strong progress in the future. And the most recent national child poverty statistics highlight that almost 1 in 4 children are living in poverty across Scotland, a figure which is projected, unfortunately, to increase in the coming years. But we know that these statistics do not reflect the experiences of different areas. For example, the higher rate and concentration of poverty in urban areas, or the higher costs of living for families in our rural parts of our country. And that local context is important in helping to shape and hone that necessary local response. And of course, what sits below those facts, those figures and stats, are of course the individual lives of children and families experiencing the stress, the strain, the trauma of living on low incomes, struggling to make ends meet, and surviving and not thriving. And that's why tackling poverty is all of our responsibility. Poverty stymies potential, it hinders opportunity, and it reduces well-being. It means that unless we tackle it effectively, we'll never make good on our ambition to make Scotland the best place in the world to grow up, and nor will we translate our ambitions in our national performance framework from the paper that is written on into tangible impact on the lives of those needing the most support. So that's why tackling child poverty is a priority for the whole government, because its impact is felt on education, the economy, and on health, and a whole host of other areas. And it's why we've set ambitious targets within the Child Poverty Act that were unanimously agreed by the Scottish Parliament. In response to this challenge, we published our first Tackling Child Poverty Delivery Plan in March 2018, backed by a £50 million Tackling Child Poverty Fund. This outlines the concrete actions we'll take in the period up to 2022 to deliver progress on those ambitious targets. The plan focuses on action to tackle the 3 key drivers of child poverty reduction by helping parents to work and earn more, reducing household costs, and maximising incomes from social security and benefits in kind. Complementing this is our focus on mitigating the detrimental effects of poverty on those children who have already experienced it, improving these children's life chances so that they don't grow up to become the parents of children in poverty in the future. And over the first year of the plan, we've delivered, or are in the process of delivering, 48 of the 58 actions, translating into new help and support for families across Scotland. For example, we launched our newly devolved employability service, Fair Start Scotland, in April 2018. Fair Start is the cornerstone of our new employability services and takes a fundamentally different approach to previous UK government initiatives. Importantly, our services don't penalise people through sanctioning benefits, and the feedback shows that folk are positive about their experiences and about the incomes they can get. By the end of June this year, over 13,000 individuals had accessed the service. Of these participants, over 3,000 started work, which is encouraging progress at the start of that journey. We also launched our new financial health check service in November through Scotland's network of Citizens Advice Bureau. Now branded as the Money Talk Team, the Money Talk Team provides families with the help they need to maximise their incomes and beat the poverty premium. Since its launch, almost 8,000 clients have accessed the service, and of those, over 3,000 are better off by more than £6 million, meaning households benefit by more than £1,850 on average. And since it opened a year ago, our agency, Social Security Scotland, has supported over 91,000 people, providing £190 million in vital support in the year 2018 to 19. And that will increase to an estimated £350 million in 1920. And through the agency, we launched all three elements of the new Best Start grant. Statistics published at the end of last month highlight by the 30th of June, the Best Start grant had issued almost £13 million to clients. What that means, though, is that in just 7 months, we've provided low-income families with over £10 million of additional support that would not have been available to them under the old DWP system in a whole year. And in having the chance to shape an approach that is rooted in dignity, in respect, and in our values of kindness, we've been able to create a service that supports instead of stigmatises. So alongside increasing the financial support for eligible parents, we've also removed the UK's previous one-child limit, reaching children who would have received nothing from the Sure Start maternity grant. And we have created 2 new payments to support families during key stages of a child's life. For a 2-child family, the Best Start grant package will provide total support of £1,900, of £1,400 more than they would get under the previous system. And that shows the direct difference we are making to families across Scotland when we have the powers and the drive to do so. However, and as I've said before, poverty can't be tackled by national government alone, and the impact of our actions is maximised, though, through effective partnership with local areas across Scotland. And one really good example of how that happens in practice is the increase to the school clothing grant. In partnership with local government, we set the national minimum school clothing grant at an increased level of £100 from the start of this academic year, backed by joint annual investment of £12 million. And that is a significant increase from the previous lowest level of £40, and it supports an estimated 120,000 children each year to access the essentials they need to participate effectively in their schooling, getting to support the folk who need it through those local channels and by a shared determination between local and national government to do so. So as a government, we are really proud of what we've achieved already, and will continue to keep on delivering. And all these actions are building to further strengthen the comprehensive offer that we make to children and families across Scotland. Our progress report that we published at the end of the last parliamentary year outlines this support across the life course to demonstrate how at every stage and age we are helping children and families to achieve their potential. From birth in the baby box available to all children, to our Attainment Scotland Fund focus on delivering more warm and affordable housing and delivering fair work futures for all. A life course of support from a range of different partners providing help when it's needed most. And the Poverty and Inequality Commission welcomed the activity underway, but also advised us that our investment must match the scale of our ambition, and we agree with that. And the progress report provides that first estimate of our investment to support low-income households, £1.4 billion in 2018-19 alone, which includes the £100 million that we spend each year simply to mitigate the worst impacts of the UK government welfare reforms. But that investment isn't the whole story. Our estimate does not include the social contract that delivers the universal services from which that we all enjoy and which our society benefits from. A multi-million-pound package of additional investment is in place in key areas to help all children and all parents, whether low income or not, realise their full potential. Even then, we know that further investment is needed to really shift the curve on child poverty. And that's why, going back to the Scottish Child Payment, why we announced those plans for that new payment in June, which on its own stands to be one of the most progressive policy proposals put forward since devolution, described as a game changer by the Child Poverty Action Group. Investment will reach £180 million each year by 2022, with payments worth £10 per week per child under 16 for families in receipt of qualifying benefits, putting over £1,000 a year in the pockets of families with 2 children. And when delivered in full, 410,000 children will be eligible, over a third of all children in Scotland, and it will lift, importantly, around 30,000 children out of poverty. And importantly, though, will also prevent other children from being pulled back into poverty as well. So to make sure those in need benefit from the new payment as soon as possible, we're making it available earlier than planned to children under 6 years old. And around 60% of all children in poverty live in a family where a child is under 6. So this will make a real difference in the early years of a child's life and will have a big impact on those long-term outcomes. And assuming the cooperation of the UK Government, will begin taking applications from eligible children, eligible families from the age of 6 in the autumn of next year, with the first payments being made by Christmas in 2020. And up to 170,000 children will be eligible for that early payment. The Scottish Child Payment will be transformative, and it will invest in families to shift the curve of child poverty, and it will make a positive difference to the lives of thousands of children right across Scotland. However, new action on social security alone, as we've already discussed, will not effectively deliver all the change that we need. And over the next year, we'll continue to scale up our action across government, and our programme for government further strengthens the actions that we've committed to. For example, on childcare, we are continuing to support the expansion of funded early learning and childcare hours to 1,140 by August of 2020. That's a massive investment and will be worth nearly £1 billion by 2021-22, and that has the potential to be truly transformative, improving educational outcomes for children, and also, though, giving parents more opportunities to undertake work and training, and also they'll get crucial support if they need it. We recognise, though, that this is only one part of the story, and providing wraparound childcare out of school and in the school holidays is also key to helping parents to work and to earn more. To support this, the Tackling Child Poverty Fund is providing a £3 million access to childcare fund, which will be delivered over a 2-year period starting in April next year. And we also launched a consultation on our draft framework of out-of-school care on the 30th of August, helping to shape future policies. Alongside that, we're investing £500,000 in a new Family Learning Scotland programme to help parents gain new skills and take up learning and training. And this will be further integrated with the expansion of early learning and childcare to allow parents to build on their skills and to gain better work. And we're also taking further steps to improve our employability offer for parents. In the coming months, we'll launch our new Parental Employment Support Fund, and that will be backed by investment of £12 million from the Tackling Child Poverty Fund. This will provide intensive support for low-income parents to help them get into work, and for those already in work to help progress through a career. And by 2022, we estimate that around 17,500 parents will benefit from that service alone. Alongside that, we'll be investing £6 million in new support specifically targeted at disabled parents. To strengthen this offer and to maximise the impact of our early learning and childcare expansion, we're also investing £4 million to support links between those programmes and to also help parents benefiting from the new hours to progress towards work. In total, through this new package of support, we'll be investing a further £22 million by 2022 over and above the investment in Fair Work Scotland. The success of these investments will be driven by our partnership, though, in local areas, ensuring that parents access services, that local needs are addressed, and that children are also supported. And it's in our interest to make those national policies effective to work with local partners. We can have lots of fantastic and great policies, but if they don't effectively join up and don't reflect the needs of parents and families and their lives, then we won't properly recognise the investment that we're making. Childcare will be fabulous, but what if you don't have a bus route to access it? What if you can't afford the bus fares? What if you live miles away from job opportunity or the provision of childcare? And what if the jobs that are available to you are only paying below the living wage? That's why we're committed to looking across the work we do to see how best to align programmes and integrate support, providing a much more cohesive package, focusing on improving outcomes for individuals and families in ways which meets their complex set of needs. But that can only be done with local partners and reflective of the places that they serve. So that brings us to the local child poverty action reports and the reason for today's event. This new reporting duty is an important part of our overall efforts to tackle child poverty. Already at this stage, there will be pockets of excellent work being undertaken which can be expanded and rolled out more widely, and there will be innovative and successful approaches which can be adopted and will change the way we think about and act in relation to core issues. In short, many of the solutions of the future will already exist in your areas and what you're doing at the moment. So for this new duty to have the maximum impact, the learning from across all areas must be drawn out and it must be shared. And as we've said, events like this are key to achieve that goal. However, independent advice will support identification of that key learning. So that's why I've asked the new Poverty and Inequality Commission as one of their first tasks to review the first year's reports. And Lindsay Graham here today will be one of the commissioners who will look at those approaches and will provide a bit more insight later today. My hope, though, is that this review and learning shared from national partners will help to influence the second cycle of reports, to sharpen our collective focus and to help drive the change needed in order to deliver more with the resources that we have. In many respects, doing what Campbell Christie challenged us to do back in 2011, work together to prevent problems and to maximise the resources that we have to deliver the services that people deserve. For us to be successful, we need to understand how national and regional policies interact and play out locally in order to achieve the scale of change that we all aspire to. The local child poverty action reports are a key source of evidence in that respect, as they tell the stories of how local action has changed or can change people's experience of living and working in an area. Showing how local services are based on a good understanding of place and delivered through effective partnership is an important part of that story. It's also important to show how services providers are looking at their provision with an eye to improving quality and impact, and how services interconnect. Now, it's not expected that local areas will be able to point to specific numbers of children lifted out of poverty, but the actions taken and information on who has benefited will do so, and it will demonstrate how you are supporting delivery against the drivers of poverty. For example, how many affordable homes have been completed, how many children are benefiting from expanded early learning and childcare hours, or how delivery of advice services is supporting parents to maximise their incomes. In particular, these reports should draw out, where possible, the impact of action for the priority groups identified in our delivery plan, the families who are at greatest risk of living in poverty. Having services that are designed around those particular sets of needs will maximise the impact of the work that you and we do. The reports, as they develop, will be a good source of evidence to strengthen local partnerships, considering what is being delivered and where the gaps exist, and to look at which approaches are working and need scaled up, and which are less successful and aren't having the desired or anticipated impact. Crucially, and this applies to national government as well as to local partners, it should also strengthen our arm to ensure it's not just the usual suspects that are charged with tackling poverty. It will require us to ensure that health, housing, transport and others are playing their part as well. It will also need to ensure that Scottish enterprise, local economic strategies understand the imperative of fair work practices in order to make real the phrase inclusive growth. Because the truth is, while our national plan is backed by £50 million, that needs to act as an enabler of culture change to instil the discipline of looking at the decisions that we collectively take through the lens of child poverty and, of course, and more importantly, through the lives of the people with that lived experience. So while we have achieved a great deal, we all know that there is much more that we need to do, and we do so against that headwind that Jim described, a headwind of continued UK government austerity, welfare cuts, and the unknown impacts of Brexit, but which we can be pretty much guarantee will impact the most vulnerable the hardest. And it's through those challenges that the strength of our partnership will determine our success. I think at times, of course, it will be bumpy as we work towards achieving our aims. It will be rocky at times, but if we want to make Scotland the best country in the world for children to grow up, and recognising the opportunity that can be found amongst challenge, then working together and focusing in on people and place guided by strong national policy will help us to make the difference that the children and families across the country are relying on us to make. So I think it's an exciting opportunity. There's lots for us to build upon, but it's going to require us to work together and to understand the perspectives of each other as well. And I certainly look forward to continuing to work with you, recognising the fantastic work that you're doing, the transformative work that many of you are making already to the lives of children and families across the country, and to make sure that we understand that and talk loudly and proudly about that, but also make sure that we can see that happen right across the country and enable and support you to do that. So happy, I think at some point maybe if there's time to take questions, but certainly look forward to working with you and look forward to the outcomes of today's inaugural important event. So thank you.